Now, Shopify has a lot of power. There's a lot of stuff to do here. So I'm going to walk you through basically a checklist, step by step, how to build out your Shopify store with as little effort as possible, but also without missing some things. A lot of people kind of scramble around on their own and they miss some really important things that make it look like such a kind of an amateur store, honestly, when people are shopping on the site. For example, like right now it's titled My Store. Like we're going to change that later on so that when people go to visit your website, it doesn't say My Store on the top of their browser. Like little things like that really add up to essentially give the user a more premium experience and not make them feel like they're shopping on an amateur website. Like you want them to feel comfortable and ready to buy from you and trust you, obviously, which is very important. So the first thing we want to do, we're going to click on Online Store and we're going to start designing the website itself before coming back to the back end here. So if we see right now, we have Dawn is the theme that they gave us. So if we scroll down, you'll see there are a lot of other themes that are very popular. We can scroll through these or we can actually just browse the theme library. So we can click on Add Theme, visit the theme store. You can also upload your own if you have a third-party theme out there. I don't have one to give you right now, so we're going to browse the free themes that are available with Shopify. So we'll say Explore Themes, and there are a lot here. So 177 themes right now, and you can look at different colors for each of them. You can look at a lot of different variations of them. But let's say I want to see only the free ones. So on the left side, let's just select free. It gives us 12 options now, which isn't a ton, but that's really all you need because it's going to be just a different layout for each of them. And we can then customize the colors and everything like that. So if you're selling one product, something like Origin is a really good one in my opinion. If you're selling a lot of products, there are some other great options. Spotlight's always been a favorite of mine, as well as Refresh. And so for this video, let's actually go with Refresh. I kind of like that one a lot. Kind of a cool, modernish design. We're going to try the theme. You can also view a demo store real quick. It'll show you like what the whole thing looks like. Looks pretty good, pretty basic, but I think that's gonna do the job. So I'll say try theme. So then in our theme library, you can see down here we have it ready to go. We can customize it. Now what's really cool is you can publish one theme at a time. So if Dawn is your current website and everything's looking good there, but you want to totally rebuild your website, you can build one down here in your theme library, customize the whole thing, and then when you're ready, you can publish this one and replace the other website. So that way you don't have any kind of weird website in construction. Because we're getting started out, we don't have any traffic yet. So we're just gonna publish the refresh one so we can start using that immediately. That way when we go to our domain, we'll see it, we'll know that it's right. So I'm just gonna click on publish down here, click on publish. That'll say that it's currently password protected. Yes, it's gonna replace Dawn. We'll say publish. And that'll swap out those two. Just like I said, pretty easy to change your whole website just by changing out and publishing the latest theme that you have. So we currently have a password on our website, so nobody can go in and accidentally order anything, just in case we have some sample like demo products that came with the theme that we don't want to be selling, like a soap, for example. We don't want anyone to place that order because we don't actually sell soap. So we'll remove that password later, but first let's go to customize. So our website really just brought in that theme. It's pretty basic right now, and it imported those products just like we said, which is really nice. They're featured products on our website already. So the way this Shopify site is set up is in something called a section layout. So we have these different sections outlined in blue. The first one, of course, is our header on the top. That's going to be navigation and stuff like that. The next one is this little slide right here that just shows like a button for browsing our latest products. This down here is one big section. Usually you can differentiate the sections by the background they have. So dark blue, a light section, a photo background section. Those are the different sections we have. If we wanted to add another section in between them, we can click on, like hover over this little plus and then click on add section, and we can choose a format for that section. So it could be a featured collection, as we have right below down here. Alternatively, it could be a bunch of text. It could be just a paragraph. It could be an image with some text. That's a really popular one. It could be, for example, a featured product. That's what I'm going to add right here. And it's kind of a nice way to show like just one product and tell a little bit more about it and make it easier to purchase that without having as many clicks. One of the big goals of a successful website is to minimize the clicks required, minimize the barrier more or less to actually purchase the product. So if somebody gets on your website and they can buy it right away, that is going to improve your conversion. So they don't have to click on another button to another button to another button. to then go and buy. So now within each section, you have different elements. This section, you're not going to be able to customize each element necessarily. Instead, it's all baked into one section. But other ones, for example, you could choose how many columns or featured products you have. You might be able to add another paragraph or another button down here. But going with one section at a time, let's say the featured product. On the left side, this is where all of the customization happens. We can start off by selecting the product. And let's select, maybe for this one, I really like the tough case. I think that those mockups honestly just look so good. So we can select that one as our first product. We're going to say select, and then down here we can choose the color scheme. We can choose the media size if we want that to be larger, right there, medium or small. I think medium looks really good, kind of a good balance between the text on the right and the image on the left. You want people to really get their eye caught by the image, and this one I think absolutely does the trick. We can choose the media fit if it's going to be a fill or an original fit. That looks fine as it is. It actually doesn't really change much. And of course, we can choose the media position if you want it on the right side or the left side. So if you have two of these back to back, maybe one would be on the left side and the next one would be on the right, kind of to break up the monotony of it and make it look a little bit different. Additionally, you can kind of mess around down here with the padding. That's going to be the buffer area above. So if we add a lot more padding, you'll get a lot more space up there. I'm going to say Control Z to I'm going to bring that back down to 32, or I think it was at 36. Let's go back to 36. And so we have matching padding on the top and the bottom. Additionally, you can change some more advanced things. If you have somebody to write some code for you, there is CSS down here. You can add some custom CSS. Most people aren't going to need to do that for most websites out there. So that is one little section right here. And you can see all I really did was import the product, and everything else was added pretty automatically. Like, I really didn't have to do much here. But let's check out another section right here. So this section, I'm not particularly fond of this, but we would be selecting an image behind there. We could change the font. Like I said, I really don't like that. So let's click on this block, and we are going to remove that section. Click on Remove Section on the bottom, and that will be deleted. So now our store just has a product suggestion on the very top. It has our other featured products below it, and nothing really down here. Now, so let's add a frequently asked questions section. Now, this we could either add between these two, or on the left side, you'll see this kind of hierarchy tree here. This is going to make it easier to place things exactly where you want. So on the very bottom, above the footer, but below this featured collection, I want to add it right here. So I'm going to click on Add Section on the left side, below featured collection and above the footer. And this could be collapsible content. That's going to be perfect for a frequently asked questions section, and we can customize this really quite a bit. So the caption on the top, we could call this one, this is going to be frequently asked questions. The heading size looks good to me. And then down here, we can choose what those questions actually are. So, and maybe by default, we have the first question opened. I don't really see the need to do that right away, but let's go and actually customize each of these. So if we click on them, you can just click on the first one, and this is called collapsible row. Let's say this one is let me say all, so we can add that. We'll add another one by clicking down here, and this one can, now if you click on sections on the top left, that'll bring you back to that hierarchy tree, and you can add more collapsible content, more of these little FAQs there, or you can remove them by clicking on them and then clicking on remove block. So now we have these. If you just kind of interact on the right side of the screen here, you can see what it'll look like. Clicking on the arrow will open up that entire box. People can learn more about it. This could also be a good way for Google to identify these questions. So make sure you put the proper keywords in both the question and in the answer so that people are able to find this on Google when they search for that question about your product, as well as when they're just on your website. You want it to be easy for them to find the information they're looking for. Now let's add one more section down here and say maybe this is going to be some more information about us in general. Let's add image with text. I think that's a pretty solid one here. So we'll click on image with text. We can select an image, and maybe the image here is going to be these people wearing that shirt. And now we can add some text here and say Santrell. So we'll add a little paragraph there. You can go back. And so far, I think our website's looking pretty clean. We've got our product up on the top, just one product. If you're trying to sell one, that makes the most sense. Maybe the collection could go above there if you're trying to really promote a bunch of different products. But I think just kind of showing you the idea of how you'd set up this website, that's a really, really good start. But we haven't yet edited the header or the footer. So if we go back to homepage here, we can go back up to the top, click on, first of all, announcement bar. We don't even have the announcement bar. We do have it on, but we don't have anything customized there. So if you click on announcement bar, we can customize what this says. And this is a great place to add either free shipping announcements or a sale, for example. And so let's actually set up a sale. We'll add this as a coupon or a discount in just a second, but let's add the text here for it now, just so that it kind of helps when people go to the site that they'll be able to say like, oh, well, there's a sale right now. I should probably go and make a purchase. Now there is a lot of research out there to suggest that it's not going to be enough to add like an artificial time limit on this. So if you say 50% off this week only, a lot of people kind of know that you're just pressuring them to buy. If instead you tie it to an event, so like their birthday would make sense, not for an announcement, but for like a sale, that would make sense. Or another option would be a seasonal thing. So you could say Christmas sale this week only. And that way people know it's not an artificial deadline. It really is based on like an actual thing. Like it's based on the holiday season, or it's based on the month, or it's based on whatever might be happening. There's a reason that those perform a little bit better. So for here, we are going to click on. So within the announcement bar, if you click the little drop down button, you'll see welcome to our store. So I can click on that. I could change that and say, first of all, let's start off with get 10% off with code Mike. And we could have a link if you wanted to. You don't necessarily have to have that, but you could just say maybe the link's going to go to products, and you can just link to all products. And that way people can go and start shopping if they just click on that right now. So get 10% off with code Mike. See how it kind of underlines it? There's a little arrow, a little action, call to action there. So if they click on it, it'll bring them over to the products page, and they can start buying whatever they want. They'll just type in code Mike, and they'll be able to save that 10%. So that is the announcement bar. We can also add other announcements and cycle through them. So maybe we could say free shipping. Once again, you could either go to like a collection, maybe just say homepage, for example, the collection, whatever. And then if you go back to the announcement bar and you click on what the words announcement bar here, you can choose the actual cadence, how fast it's going to switch between them. So maybe every 6 seconds, we want to switch between different announcements on the top, kind of keep it moving a little bit. You don't have to do this. Of course, play around with it if you want to use this and find the right amount of time. But I think maybe 5-6 seconds seems like a pretty reasonable amount of time for somebody to see it, digest it, and then obviously go and use those sales, use those promotions. Now moving down to the header. If you click the little down button, you'll see there is nothing else in the header, no extra blocks. It really is just the header. You could add some other blocks up there if you wanted to, but I'm going to start off just by clicking on header, and we can customize this right here. So we have our main menu. Those are the three things right now: the home, the catalog, and the contact. And we can customize what that menu is as well. But we could customize what that menu is as well. We'll customize that a little bit later. But for now, let's customize how it looks in the header. You can choose if it's a drop down, a mega menu, or a drawer menu. So drawer is going to be on the left side right there. That's a drawer. Mega menu, kind of just in the middle. Drop down menu. It's really not going to change anything right here. It can be a sticky header. So as you scroll down, if you start scrolling up, it pops up right there. You can see we're nowhere near the top, but it does appear. Additionally, you could have it always there. So no matter what, it's always on the top. The third option would be to have always, but reduce the logo size. So as you scroll down, the logo would get smaller, but it'll still show your navigation there. I like to have it on always scroll up so people can see the entire website when they go down. But if they want to see it going back up, it pops up right away. Scrolling down, there's some other things with spacing you can customize down here, but you'll notice that it does say My Store. So we want to actually change that. That's the name of our store right now. First of all, we could have a logo there, which would be really nice, or at the very least, a proper name of the store. So it's not just My Store. And so I think it's actually time that we save this. It's always important to save as frequently as possible. And now you can see edit your logo in theme settings. So we're going to click on theme settings right there. It'll bring us down to the little gear icon for theme settings, and we can add the logo for our website. So I'm going to select an image for the logo. I already have one here, being this is just going to be using Santral's logo, I think would probably be a good way to do this. So I'll use this right here. It's not going to be ideal because it's blue. It's going to end up on blue right there. But again, you can make a logo pretty easily in Canva, the tool that I showed you a little earlier. Just a quick aside, if we go back to Canva and type in logo, you'll see that there are logo templates. These are going to be like 500 by 500 pixels, a little bit smaller, usually square, and there's a lot of really cool templates that make it super easy to do that. So let's go back to here, and you'll see the logo, like I said, is completely white. You can't really read that. So I would rather just have text up there instead of having our logo. Now, one little sneaky thing with the header is if you have social icons anywhere, which usually they're like on the bottom, or some people add them up on their header, it's worth customizing them now anyway, just in case you decide to add social icons later, or if you accidentally add social icons. So if you scroll down to theme suggestion or theme settings, click on theme settings, little drop down, we can customize all of these socials right here. So I don't want this to go to twitter.com/Shopify. I want it to go to my own. So I'm going to add those in right now. So ones like Twitter and Instagram, you just type in twitter.com or instagram.com/ and then just your username. So Mike O'Brien. So / Mike O'Brien. Same thing with Instagram. TikTok has a little @ symbol there, /@ and then your username. And of course, we're going to save this. And within the theme settings, there's a lot of other things we should be customizing. So the next one is going to be your image for your favorite con. This is up here. See, right now we have a little Shopify logo on the very top. Let's see if you can actually see that. So if I readjust my screen recording so you can see the top, you can see right there, this is the favicon, little Shopify logo. Over here, Gelato has their little logo. So if you go to your online store and there's a Shopify logo on the top, that doesn't look very professional. So you want to have your logo up there showing up on the browser, or if anybody saves it to, for example, like their home screen, if anyone ever did that on a phone, you want to make sure you're having a good icon right there. So let's select an image, and here I'm going to upload the other Santrel logo. Having your own 2 different logo variants is usually pretty important. So you have one that's a smaller, more square one, and maybe one of a longer logo, more of a font-based logo that could be spread out a little more. And so having this circle up top is going to be very, very beneficial. Then we have colors. So right now, this kind of blue theme honestly looks pretty good. I don't know if I even really need to change that, but it is something that if you want to change, you can have like a lighter version, you can have a darker version. Then we have typography. I don't need to change that. I kind of like the font that's being used here. The layout looks fine to me. Animations don't really matter that much to me. The buttons look good. Everything in here does look good. But if you wanted to change the way your website actually looks, Shopify uses the theme settings pretty heavily. So rather than customizing every individual button, Shopify likes to customize all of them as like a bulk thing. So if you wanted to change how they look, it's almost always going to be over in theme settings. And you can really see basically every type of element from drawers to badges, media, containers, blog cards, all of these different things are going to be customizable over in theme settings. And you can do a lot here. You can add radius on your images. So you can have like a 20 pixel corner radius is a good one, and stuff like that. You can also customize your cart and your checkout page, which we can actually talk about in just a second as we kind of go through an example order here. And then down here, you'll have app embeds as well. So if you have any other apps embedded in your website, so if you have like MailChimp, for example, you could have that and kind of have like a really nice little block down here that would allow people to subscribe and go directly into MailChimp instead of here, which is going to be managed through Shopify. So let's go back up to sections. Now, another really important thing. I know it seems like we're really spending a lot of time on this website, but it's really important. The next most important thing I would say by far is going to be viewing this not in desktop mode. So even though we like to design the website on a laptop, and in our heads we kind of think everybody's going to be visiting from a desktop or a laptop, the truth is that is almost never ever true. Like I could bet a pretty good amount that you're going to have a majority of your visitors coming from mobile, especially if you're running any type of advertisements on TikTok or any social media out there. Running ads on socials almost always converts to mobile purchases. So we want to check this out on mobile. Clicking on the top, there's a little mobile button there. And Shopify really has nice website design that kind of translates over so well. It maps really well to mobile. So there shouldn't be any problems here. But kind of checking it out, you'll see this, I think, looks great. Scrolling down, you can see this also looks good on mobile. Everything seems to be looking exactly as I would want it to on mobile. Maybe this is a little wordier than I would want. But again, it's just important that you check this out because sometimes some images or some logos, things like that, tend to, like, they might not look great on mobile, even though they did on desktop. So it's worth checking both out to make sure it still looks good. We can also check out full screen in case anybody's using like a really wide laptop, or if you just want to feel more immersed when you're editing this. Let's go back to desktop view though and give it one last look over. So everything here, I think, looks pretty good. Homepage looks good. Now, before we go back to the Shopify dashboard, let's click on homepage here. And I just want to show you, you can customize the pages for a lot of other portions of your website. Even though it's kind of a one-page website for now, you're going to have product pages, of course. If people want to know more about the product, you will also have your cart, your checkout, things like that. So this little drop-down lets you go to those different pages. Products, for example, it's a default. They're all looking the same. But if we want to go and customize that, we'll click on that. And you can see right here, this is how the product page actually looks. If we wanted to add something below, maybe we want to add a section down here, we could have maybe like return policy, or we could have other featured collections to encourage people to buy other things along with whatever they're already ordering. So let's just say featured collection. kind of makes sense to add that down there. So if someone's on one product page, they scroll down and they say, oh, I like this mug, but I would also really like a phone case. So let's select our collection, say homepage is what I kind of put everything into. And it looks like I only added 2 things to that, but for now, you get the idea. We can add everything else to that collection as well. And so it's kind of a good way to upsell, cross-sell the products that you are also selling on your website. I'll talk more about blogs a little bit later on, but there's some important things we need to do with this site. First of all, it's still called My Store, so let's go and actually customize that. Let's say save, and let's go back to the Shopify dashboard. We'll come back into the editor later, like I said, and talk about blogs and some more intricate, more advanced things. So from the dashboard, on the bottom left, you'll see a little settings icon. If we click on that, there's a lot of settings we can customize and should customize here, including setting up payments, setting up shipping, setting up taxes, and of course, renaming from My Store to whatever we actually want to call it. So I'm going to click on the pencil icon. I'm going to rename my store to Santrell Shop. We'll just call it that. If you have a more creative name, definitely use a better name. But for the purposes of this example, I'm going to stick with Santrell Shop. We will say save. And then from here, we already have a plan selected. Going down, billing is the next one. That's going to be how we pay for our plan, of course. Below that, we have users and permissions. If you have anybody else on your team, you can add them down here. So we can have up to 2 staff members with the basic account that I chose for this video. If you want to have more staff members, you can upgrade to a higher plan and have, I think 5 is the next tier up, 5 different staff members. Then we can go down to payments. So we want to obviously make sure people are able to pay us. This is super important in accepting any type of orders on here. So right now, Shopify Payments is the default that we will need to complete the account setup for. Great way to accept Visa, MasterCard, Amex, Discover, a lot of different Amazon Pay, MetaPay, all these different ways that people can pay for things. Additionally, PayPal is another good one that you can have set up down here. Fees are going to be slightly different. Or if you want to have other manual methods down here, you can add those as well. But let's go and complete the account setup. So these are pretty straightforward. You just click on them. They're going to walk you through some basic information. You'll need to know your address and your EIN or your SSN, depending on how your business structure is set up. We'll set up 2-factor authentication, add the banking information so you can actually get paid, and then that is basically all you need to do. So click on Submit Details to get started. So Shopify Payments is now set up. Of course, we can set up PayPal as well. I might do that a little bit later, but let's continue down and kind of move along with this video. We have checkout, of course. This you can customize. I showed you a little bit more about the checkout page before, but this is going to be more in line with what is requested from the user. So phone number or email, you could say maybe just email instead. Maybe you don't want phone numbers. You don't have a means of contacting them by phone. So maybe email is what you want. Additionally, you can go down and say, hey, maybe we don't actually need a company name. We can make that optional. We can make that don't include because you're not selling B2B necessarily and things like that. So going down, I recommend reading through this, check out each one and see which one makes the most sense. Something worth mentioning with payments is when you're setting up Shopify Payments, make sure you have a good descriptor for what your company is. This is what's going to show up on the credit card statements. If it's something random that people don't recognize, they're far more likely to dispute the payment with their credit card, and that's just going to create a headache for you trying to get your money that you rightfully do deserve because they did pay you. So make sure that it is set up as basically your store name or something very recognizable, so on somebody's statement, they'll know where that money actually went. Then we have customer accounts. You could have this set up so people are able to log in and order more things in the future. Kind of a nice feature to have. I recommend eventually setting this up, especially if you have more than a couple products on your store. If you just have a 1 to 4 product store and you don't think it's something people are going to repeat purchase a lot, then it might not really be worth it to spend much effort on this. But for larger stores, I think it would really go a long way. Additionally, self-serve returns, I have this set to off. The return process, we'll talk about how you can set that up, but if you wanted to make the returns a little bit more easy, you could turn this on. It's a little bit less of your time dealing with returns and more of an automated process. It does make it easier for people to return, which means returns will potentially be higher, but at the same time, you want customers to be happy in the end, and you want your time to be used on what really matters, so maybe it makes sense to turn this on for your business. Then we have shipping and delivery. Right now, the shipping profile, we're using Gelato for that, so we don't really need to worry too much about this. Gelato's handling most of that for us. We have taxes and duties. Of course, you want to set up based on what country you are in. Look up your local tax laws. Make sure you are following all laws and regulations in your area, but you'll be accessing that right here.